So look, my name is Alex Asher. I'm here on behalf of LearnCube, and today we're actually going to be talking with Herbert, who is a phenomenally gifted and experienced digital marketer. But lucky for you, he is also extremely experienced in language schools and working with those. Herbert, do you want to just give us a bit more of an idea about your experience, who you've worked with, what kinds of tools, what kinds of strategies you've had to employ so that people can get a better understanding of you?
Absolutely. So thanks, Alex. Hi, my name is Herbert. I specialize in running paid ad campaigns specifically for language schools with the goal of increasing the number of leads that they get and direct course enrollments. And we do that through Facebook and Instagram ads, as well as some LinkedIn lead generation. Yes, I've been in the language industry for about 13 years now. Firstly, as a business English teacher, so started right at the beginning, and then went into corporate sales for language school, where I was selling language courses to large companies, companies like BMW, Red Bull, Miele, Bosch, and then organically I went into the marketing side of things, so looking at how we could generate more interest and more customers for that language school. We did that through Facebook ads, and it was successful. So yeah, I decided to open my own digital marketing agency specifically to help language schools.
Great. Now, Herbert, we've run these before, and I think just as a kind of proviso for everyone here, I mean, we're really lucky because we have somebody that's not just giving us generic kind of information, but we're just trying some strategies and I guess sharing some strategies that have worked really well for Herbert. Now, that doesn't mean that it's going to work perfectly for you every time if you just follow his perfect examples. Please, come together with your creativity. But we're going to hear some really interesting strategies, at least an idea on prioritization. And I think you're going to come away with some great gems. So Herbert,
hopefully.
I'm leaving you in very capable hands, but I might pop in here and there. But yeah, this is always a lot of really great learning comes out of these presentations. I look forward to it. Thanks, Herbert.
Great. So yeah, as Alex said, we really just want to run through some best practices for you and show you examples of what has worked for other language schools, and give you some actionable tips that you can implement today for your language school. We're not going to go into detail on the technical side of things like setting up a campaign in Facebook Ads Manager or installing the Facebook Pixel. Facebook has some fantastic resources for that. So we're just going to focus on how you can really set your school apart from the competition using some techniques on really how to speak to your target market. So we're going to run through 4 topics: retargeting, picking your niche, finding your audience, and running campaigns. You're probably thinking, especially right now, with words like economic downturn or recession in the media, why would I spend money on online marketing or marketing in general right now? There's an old saying, when times are good, you should advertise, and when times are bad, you must advertise. This is a fantastic opportunity to use this time to and utilize online marketing to reposition your brand, or perhaps introduce a new product like online courses, project an image of stability in the market, and stay top of mind with prospective students who have perhaps engaged with your school before, and students who are thinking of coming a bit later on in the year or even next year. And this is also a fantastic chance of using short-term price incentives and discounts and offers. So the most effective way of starting, what we found is to create a retargeting campaign. And what retargeting means is focusing or targeting people who have already interacted with your school. That includes people who have visited your website or visited specific pages of your website, people who have filled out a contact form or perhaps a registration form, all of your Facebook and Instagram followers. This also includes lists of newsletter subscribers, unconverted leads, past, present, and future students, of course. These people are further along the enrollment journey, and we like to say that they're warm or hot traffic or people, and so they don't need a lot of convincing, or maybe they just need that extra push in order to enroll for one of your courses. And Facebook is a very powerful tool for this, especially because you can create custom audiences in Ad Manager and upload lists of all these subscribers or unconverted leads. But how do we do that? So there are a couple of ways when we look at creating retargeting ads. We really want to lead that person to the sale. So ask for the sale. They've warmed up, they already know who you're about, they've probably checked out one of your courses before, so they just need that extra push, whether that be through a student testimonial, like on the right. That's actually a video of a student talking about her experience at the school. Very, very powerful, especially for people who are on the fence about whether or not to go to your school. Student testimonials are the #1 way of retargeting people. You'll also notice in the actual body of the ad that it's quite long. We talk about the benefits of the school, why people, what are they getting out of enrolling with your school. We might also have some sense of urgency, like a time deadline or a time-sensitive offer. We might mention price so that we really filter out those people who are serious about enrolling. And yeah, it's all about capturing their attention and getting them to take action, whether that be to enroll, sign up now, book now, get in touch with us for more information. Yeah.
I think that's really helpful as well. I like that idea of creating some urgency. What I've noticed with a lot of schools online is they can be like, just join in now and you can start whenever you want. Now that can work really well for one-to-ones, and I think that's still very true. But one thing I would kind of mention around group classes online is to make them as effective and as good an experience as possible. Creating like enrollments or blocks actually works really well. And naturally, because you're creating these blocks, rather than just having a rotating door, which is like, come in whenever you want, is it means that you've got weeks where you can be like, no, we're actually going to stop this offer by Friday, so you better be in. So you can actually create that sense of urgency. And maybe, what's your view on this, Herbert, in terms of this initial offer with retargeting? Is it for like your biggest product? Is this for your smallest product? Like, for example, would it be like, hey, join up and you can have, this is for the first week, or are you trying to sell them on the 4 weeks or the 12 weeks or the, so on and so forth? What's your take on this, Herbert, in terms of what sort of products are good for this retargeting segment too?
Right. I mean, all products are good, pre-COVID, but right now, schools are looking to generate cash flow and revenue immediately, and I assume that a lot of schools, I mean, this as well, are going online. They have their online courses, and they're more general online courses. So be having sort of definitive or definite intakes in terms of whether that be weekly or monthly is actually a really good strategy, because you create that sense of urgency and that deadline. Sign up now because our courses start next Monday, and if you don't sign up, you'll have to wait a whole another month to enter into the course.
I think one other thing to think on as well is if you send somebody to an offer and that's way too, like, let's say that you were trying to sell a year-long subscription and that was going to cost $6,000. Like, getting somebody from an ad that they kind of know you to a $6,000 purchase is very unlikely to happen.
It's tough, yeah.
How do you kind of think about kind of getting people to that next step? And do you see any difference in tiers between those things, Herbert?
Absolutely. I mean, if your offer is a more high ticket offer, then there is much more selling involved. You know,
Mhm.
most people aren't just going to enroll or register and purchase just off the back of a retargeting ad. You will stay top of mind, and they'll
Mhm.
be curious and they'll want to know more. You know, usually with these high ticket offers, whether that be a year-long course, a pathway program, something like that, a long-term course, they need personal contact with one
Right.
of your salespeople or one of your admissions officers, because they need more information. You know, they want to know about visa options, accommodation options, etc., etc. So unfortunately, I mean, we can do a lot with ads, but you know, for these high ticket courses, unfortunately, you know, there is a bit of
Yeah.
manual labor involved, which is, you know, completely understandable.
Great.
Yeah. So yes, I mean, the power of retargeting is that you know, we can really push people along their enrollment journey, and even through Facebook. Facebook, you're not only on Facebook, you know, the Facebook feed and Facebook mobile. You're also on Instagram, of course, Instagram Stories or the Instagram feed, but also on other major websites. Whether or not people are scrolling through CNN for the daily news, or the South China Morning Post, or they're grabbing a recipe off veganheaven.org, like on the left, your ads are there. You are really achieving omnipresence in that you are following your prospective students wherever they go online. And that really is the goal of online marketing, is to have as many touch points with your students. You know, as you know, someone isn't going to enroll just from, you know, one touch point, or, you know, when they see your ad once. You really need to be on multiple platforms with multiple messages, you know, at multiple times. Yeah. And again, like here, the middle example is a testimonial, a video testimonial, and someone who had already seen the course page for the Spanish school might, you know, see this ad and might view the testimonial and be like, hey, oh, you know, this school knows what they're doing. The ads are everywhere, and you know, their students seem to be authentic and getting, you know, reaching their goals with it. So that is the goal and the power of retargeting, and that's why this is the first place to start. Really, with any business, not just language schools, and you can start retargeting with a very low budget, you know, €5, $5 a day. So you don't have to invest thousands and thousands in retargeting. Again, these are your hot customers, prospective customers that are further along the customer journey.
Yeah. And along with that, isn't it, Herbert, that, I mean, one of the reasons you've chosen these authentic images is they kind of blend in with the scenery, right? So there's a very big difference between retargeting with a stick and being like, literally, I'm just going to interrupt you as many times as it takes
Mm-hmm.
before you pay attention to me.
Yeah.
And then there's an alternative to that. Herbert, do you just help us understand, yeah, the importance, or what's the feeling that people want to get with these retargeting? It's not stalking, it's got to be something different. So
No, it's definitely not stalking, and I think the danger is if you only have, you know, one type of ad as a
mm,
retargeting ad, and then of course those people who visited your website will see this one ad all the time wherever they go, and you know, that's dangerous, because then they will get annoyed, they'll get frustrated. Oh, just leave me alone. But
yeah.
you know, we have to have different messages. For example, testimonials are fantastic to build social proof. Uh, but you also want, I guess, more uh, more informative ads that really talk about your courses, or how good your teachers are, or the cultural experience of coming to Canada or coming to Spain to, you know, learn the language. So it's finding out, okay, why does our student come to us, and then covering all of those points within the ads. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you.
You're welcome. So yeah, I mean, then the next point of call is picking your niche. Very important is to really define your target audience. We don't want to use a spray and pray approach, where we just target anyone in the world interested in learning a language. You will lose a lot of money that way. You will burn money. So we really want to hone in on who we want to target. And what has worked best for most schools is, first of all, looking closer to home. So focusing on their domestic market, their local market. So whether that be their city, and leveraging their already established reputation, and then venturing out into different regions or different cities in their country, and then of course the whole country. Again, an example is an English language school in Vancouver marketing their online courses or their English courses to expats and foreigners in the city and surrounding areas. So that has been a very, very good strategy because you already have that reputation. You already have built relationships there. Why not use that to your advantage?
Yeah, and there might be some other language and cultural benefits that you might be able to sell. Do you want to talk about how people might be using those in those ads, and how do you think about that, Herbert?
I'll show you some ad examples a bit later and go through some best practices, but it's really figuring out, if we are going to target these expats and foreigners, what are their problems? What are their wishes and desires? And usually, in this example, it's about, they've moved to this country. They want to integrate into society, into this new life, but their language skills is holding them back. And we need to use that pain point, that desire, and include that in our ad copy. And most language schools don't do that. They write an ad. It's not very difficult to create an ad on Facebook or Instagram. Anyone can log into Facebook Ads Manager, upload a photo, write a couple of lines of text, and Bob's your uncle. But it is really focusing on those wishes and pains of your target audience, and then including that in a story in your ad. To get them to read, you want to capture their attention, and then of course find out more. So after you have targeted your local and your domestic market, then sure, it's time to look further abroad, but also focus on just a few core international markets, either where you already have established relationships, for example, where you have good relationships with agents, or you have a large student population. So you really know that target market very well. Each country has its own peculiarities in terms of marketing and how to position your product. So, you really want to look inside first. What is your school? What are your most popular products? Your student population, and then decide on what international market to target.
Yeah.
What has?
I was thinking that, there's going to be a natural fit for you to kind of focus on your marketing, because if you're already doing that in person, you're probably going to have better imagery because they're going to be more authentic pictures of those students as well.
Exactly.
So there's just a whole lot of reasons why the lowest hanging fruit is where we're always best to start, rather than, I think, getting lost and feeling really overwhelmed with too many different potential
just
options.
Targeting everyone. Yeah, definitely. Something that's also that's not on the slide but has also worked very well is marketing or promoting specific products. So most language schools would market their general English programs, B2C and B2B. But what has worked well, for example, for an English language school, is we're focusing on their pathway programs for entrance to university. And that has worked a treat. They know it very well. They have an established reputation. And you're putting all your eggs in this one basket, but it's better to do that if you know that that's what people want. People are looking to the future. They still want to immigrate and live and study abroad. So why not utilize this time now people are at home, they're planning for the future. Or, for example, for a foreign language school, we found that targeting their language certificate preparation courses is much more effective than just marketing their general language courses.
Hey, Herbert, one question that I have had asked is, I'm a physical language school. I've had all of these different niches. I have sold to businesses. I have sold to general. I have sold to kids. What do I do? And where do I start? How would you approach that?
Right. So, you really want to determine which product, which course offer is most sellable online. And the way to do that is to run ads, but in a more structured way where you're testing different offers competing against each other, and then analyzing the data as to which offer is performing best. And that's really the only way of finding out, okay, which offer is resonating with which target audience. You might have different offers for different target audiences, of course. So it will probably take a few rounds of testing in order to find out, okay, my business English course works for this audience, upper management or managers, 30 to 55 years old, etc. And my general English courses work for the parents of teenagers. So it's about running multiple tests with one variable at a time in order to know, okay, this is working, this isn't working. So it is a very scientific approach, but it is effective, and in the long term, you will save money.
Yeah. So, I mean, just really put simply though, you would run the biggest experiments first, like which niche, and then pick one of those and then give it a bit of love for a set amount of time, and be quite disciplined before you kind of start playing around with the other niches, so that you can really ensure that, hey, this is either definitely a yes or definitely a no before changing that approach.
Absolutely. You want to pick the low-hanging fruit, and you need to establish a proof of concept before running with it. So before investing thousands of dollars into that one particular product to market that, you really have to know, okay, is this something that people want to buy, and am I positioning it correctly? Once you have a few enrollments, once you have a few contact form submissions, then okay, people are interested. Why don't I scale that campaign?
Brilliant. That's really helpful. Thanks so much for that, Herbert.
You're welcome. The next step, of course, is to find where your audience is online, and the next slide will, basically is for 98% of all language schools. So if you are an English language school, a foreign language school, a study abroad or study travel school, then your audience is on Facebook and Instagram. If you're more in B2B, the corporate sector, then LinkedIn is where you are going to find your contact people at the companies, and those people are the HR managers, the training and development managers, and of course the managing directors of small to medium-sized companies.
Makes sense.
I haven't included Google on here for a reason. I mean, Google is a fantastic platform, of course, as we know. Running Google ads can be very profitable. Why? Because Google really targets the 2 to 3% of the market who are actively searching for a solution. So they want the language course now. They are typing in "learn English in Canada" or "learn English in Australia." The problem with that is, obviously it's a very competitive platform to run ads on. And as probably some of you today have had experience in running Google ads, it can be quite expensive. And really the person who pays the most for the click wins. And there's not much creativity that you have when running Google ads. You get about 2 or 3 lines of text, and that's about it. This is where Facebook and Instagram can be so powerful, because you have so much room for creativity. You know, you can write as much text as you want. You can upload authentic photos of students, videos, and you can really awaken their interest and arouse their interest of that 97% of the market who are not actively searching. So that's why I haven't included Google into this.
That makes sense. Can you, just on that though, would you reference, would Google be any better or worse for example, B2B schools compared to the sort of B2C schools? Is there any, have you seen any difference in those?
Yes and no. Again, Google is expensive. You would think that these B2B contact people wouldn't be on Facebook, right? Because it's a B2B service, it's a corporate company service. But the fact of the matter is, whether they're the CEO or the HR manager of this, you know, large company, usually they will still have a Facebook or an Instagram profile. It might be on private, or they might not post anything, but they're still on there. Yeah. So Facebook ads can be effective, but we really want to take a more direct approach, which is why LinkedIn lead generation is so effective. So establishing a relationship with these people, connecting with them on LinkedIn, and yeah, adding value and getting to a meeting. Yeah.
Makes sense.
So now we get into the juicy bits of actually running campaigns. You know, how do I write and how do I create an ad? Because again, this is really what sets you apart from your competitors, is how the ad looks like. You know, what you write in the body of the ad, because you know you're trying to capture people's attention. Let me show you an example of an ad that most language schools would probably run in their when they first get into online marketing. It doesn't look like a bad ad. I mean, we have an image there of a student, a simple headline, and you know, a little bit of text. The problem with this is a couple of things. The image is a stock photo. And people hate stock photos. People can smell an advertisement from a mile away, and they will scroll past that. Our goal is to get people to stop scrolling. And by using authentic images, photos of real people, real students, real teachers, then it kind of is disguised as a social media post. So if there's anything you can take away from this webinar today, is please do not use stock photos. If at all possible, you should always use real images. The ad copy, the text here is very short and all about the school. It doesn't tell me a lot about the benefits. I mean, sure, best teachers, small groups, but it doesn't arouse my interest. And the headline, again, enroll now, learn English. You know, it could capture my attention better. So what could a nice looking ad and high converting ad look like? Or, you know, what are some of the tips and principles that we use? First of all, using a hook to grab their attention. We can either call out particular the audience, or call out their problems and desires. Using questions at the beginning of the text is an excellent way of doing that. Writing long copy or long bodies of text. It sounds counterintuitive. You know, no one's going to read, you know, 5 paragraphs of text. But if it is a story, if it is, you know, telling one of your students' story of where they were before they did a course and you know, where they are now, then, and it's speaking the same language as your prospective student, then you know, they are more inclined to read that. We always want to list the benefits and the solutions that we can offer. Always make it about them. You know, it's not about us. It's not about how good we are. We can leverage that. You know, if you've won awards, if you have the best teachers, that's fantastic. But you know, what is the student getting out of that? And we always want a specific call to action. Yeah, some tips for using photos and videos. Again, I can't stress this enough. photos of real students and real teachers, happy, positive, smiling faces. Outside pictures are the best performing. They outperform indoor school pictures.
Interesting.
Yeah, we've done a lot of tests, and they always outperform. You know, people want to see people doing things, and especially for study abroad schools, you know, it's not about learning English or learning the language. It's really about experiencing the culture and you know, going sightseeing and seeing you know, experience, making new friends outside. So that's why pictures of happy faces outside on the beach or in the forest, hiking, at a football game are very effective. No text, no logo, just pure photos. With videos are the future. People consume videos like never before. And we want to make these videos very short, so maximum 30 seconds. And we always want to use captions. This is a really important point because over 80% of videos on Facebook are watched without sound.
That's an amazing number. It still gets me every time.
I know, it's crazy. So if you are spending money on a video ad, especially a testimonial, for example, with a student, and you don't have captions, then you're wasting your money because people don't know what it's about. So always use captions. So,
I've got a question for you on just what you're talking about with imagery before. So if you're focusing on B2B, say, how would you suggest you know, people go about that? I mean, will they, because you also might get tempted by an outdoor stock image of a business person. Like, tell us about that, because it may not be on somebody's catalog that they have authentic pictures of their own students, but maybe they can find authentic pictures of what they're trying to present though. So tell us about that then, Herbert.
They could. There are some excellent resources where you can get free photos that look more authentic. Unsplash is one of them. It's a website with fantastic imagery from real photographers. So, you know, these are real people and you can use them without a license, without paying for it. Sure. And, you know, that's an option. Or again, you could stage a class, for example, just with your staff members and one of your teachers in your school. You know, that's not very difficult, just as long as it's authentic. Or just present your teachers, you know, do a little bit of a teacher profile. You know, this is Adam. He is one of our native speaking teachers, and, you know, teachers at, you know, companies, you know, specific business English courses, for example. So that personal touch, that human touch is so important. And that will set you apart from, you know, your competitors or schools that run ads with stock images. And you know the stock images I'm talking about, especially with B2B of, you know, the guy with the pen, you know, just or
he's
on the computer.
He's signing another deal, that guy.
Yeah.
Understood. Actually, then I'll follow up on one more. Is online courses are really important for a lot of schools at the moment. It's very important for them, just in terms of, even if they're not wanting that to be their only thing, their only jam, it's still a really important part of surviving and really even thriving during this period. How would you change that view on the imagery?
Right. So especially now where, you know, people aren't allowed in some cases to be in large groups of people. Schools are closed down. There are a lot of online courses or one-on-one courses. So we have adjusted the types of photos and videos that we're using. For example, we're only using photos of individual people or maximum 2 people in one photo. You know, now's not the time to market group courses, because that's just not the reality. You won't be able to sell that, so to say. What has worked really well for online, since, you know, most schools are online now, is again either authentic photos of your students on their computer having an online course, or your teachers teaching, and also screenshots of our Zoom call today, or an actual video of a lesson on Zoom. Has worked really well.
Great. Or LearnCube, of course.
Of
Now,
course, LearnCube.
no, the reason I bring that up though as well, part of me was thinking this, Herbert, though, is with those images, it's not about, just as you were like, this is an outdoor image of a student, right? Like you're not trying to present, hey, you're learning English so you can be in this stuffy classroom in the middle of beautiful Barcelona. You were showing a picture of Barcelona, or you're showing somebody in the woods because that was the outcome that was happening. So would you apply that same logic then, even if you are selling an online course, do you need to put a computer in it, or can you actually sell the promise rather than the delivery mechanism?
You can. I mean, it doesn't need. I mean, you would expect that's the kind of the go-to photo, right? Someone on the computer because they're taking an online course. But you can absolutely sell the outcome of that, the desired situation, whether that be being able to present effectively in front of an audience, or to negotiate a contract, or to make a sales pitch. And you can use effective imagery and real imagery like that.
Great, thanks.
So yeah, I mean, let's have a look at, I've listed quite a few points there, and let's bring it all together and have a look at some ads that are very effective and that work well. For example, this one, an English language school in Los Angeles. A compelling headline that really captures people's attention. A photo of real students outside, as we said. I mean, it's a fantastic photo. They're laughing, they're having fun. It's colorful. Color is also a huge thing. We have a hook at the start of the text. We don't blame you. Everyone loves Los Angeles. It's something unusual. You wouldn't expect it, and so you're you want to know more. What are they talking about? We're using emojis. Depending on your target audience, use them at your discretion. But we're targeting young people, so why not use characters and emojis that those young people are using themselves. Yeah. You'll see here that we have long copy. We're telling a story. We're talking about the student, their experience, why they're coming to the States to learn English. This is an example of a high converting, or an ad that really gets people to stop scrolling and take action.
Makes sense.
This is another one. This is actually a video ad of a student talking about their experience at a school. We have a relevant headline here. This is actually marketing online courses. So why not be very up to date with current events? We're using a hashtag that is very widely distributed in social media right now. Hashtag stay home and learn Spanish. We're talking about the online courses and why they're an excellent choice at the moment, highlighting the benefits, and of course, to top it all off is the most important thing, which is the video of actual students talking about why the courses are so good.
Can I just ask you on that, if you were trying to get somebody to do a testimonial for you, Herbert, do you have any questions, even if it's just one that sort of jumps to mind, that helps that student get into the mode of delivering a really useful testimonial? Because, and there's also really not helpful testimonials, which was like, it was fine. What else do I need to say? Like is there a question used to kind of help pull out the best in that testimonial?
Absolutely. I guess the first question is, why do you want to learn the language? English, Spanish, Russian, etc. What convinced you to choose your school, and what has the experience been like? Whether that be the teachers, the teaching method, the actual courses, the extracurricular activities, the customer service, the administration staff. And so that makes a really good testimonial.
Brilliant. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, and by using all of these strategies, let me give you an example of the results from a client. This German school in Berlin, they had actually been successfully running Google ads in the past. They weren't doing any Facebook or Instagram marketing, but they when COVID came, they, along with all other language schools, transitioned online, which they didn't have in their product portfolio before. And they really felt they were missing out on a captive audience by not running Facebook and Instagram ads. So we came in, and in the space of 3 weeks, we were able to generate over 9,000 euros of course enrollments for their online courses, with an ad spend of just 1,500 euros, giving us a return on ad spend of 570%, which is fantastic. And this is in the middle of strict lockdown measures in Central Europe. We brought on 40 new students. So, this isn't even taking into account the lifetime value of these 40 new students that we brought on.
Yeah, I think what I really like, it just takes away that, you can actually get some really interesting numbers by selling online courses, particularly if you package them in a way that's really valuable to those students. So I think a lot of people are seeing online as like, oh, well, I'll never be able to get out to the interesting numbers that I would need to see in my physical school. There's definitely an example right here that the opportunity is there for the taking.
Absolutely is. And it's all about making sure you have a solid, attractive offer, and of course, presenting that and marketing that in an effective way. I won't lie to you and say that we are generating the same amount of revenue that we were pre-COVID. I mean, sure. I don't think any language school is doing that, but at least we're generating a cash flow, which is much needed right now.
Makes sense.
Yeah. I did want to just insert a small word of warning. Paid ads, online marketing, or investing in online marketing is not a magic pill and is not a quick fix. Schools really need to have the foundations first in order to take that next step, because it really is an investment. So what do I mean by foundations is making sure that your whole online presence is up to scratch, from your website, the customer experience after they click on the ad, making sure that your landing pages are clear, you have call to actions, you have a smooth transition to contact forms, registration pages, you are active on your social media accounts. So, you're posting on Facebook, you're engaging with people. Those are the basics of, successful paid campaigns.
Makes sense.
Great. I did want to maybe touch on B2B schools and go into the LinkedIn strategy, because we have 2 people here that run B2B schools. So I have used this strategy effectively for schools in the past. And again, it is about connecting with your target audience on LinkedIn, HR managers and training and development managers usually. First of all, you need to update your profile. I mean, that sounds kind of standard, but usually profiles of people are all about themselves. I went to this school, I achieved this, blah, 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 blah. It's not about you. It's got to be about how you solve the company's problem, their language, their employees' language skills problem. Yeah. And it's basically a landing page or a sales page. You need a good photo, a banner at the top, clearly stating what your offer is. In the headline, that's the first thing people see. And usually in the headline, you put in, for example, CEO of LearnCube, Alex, but I know that you don't have that in there. I think you have something like helping language schools get online. Fantastic. I know immediately what you're about and who you help. And then it's about writing a compelling about section. So you have, 1,000 words in which to really sell your services. But again, it's not about you. It's about what are these HR managers, what are these companies dealing with? What are the language skill problems of their employees costing the companies, and how can you help them improve them to be more effective in their jobs? Once you have the foundations, then it's about searching for your target group on LinkedIn. There's a fantastic search function. If you upgrade to Sales Navigator, it's even more powerful, but it costs, I think, $60, $70 or euros per month. Finding those HR managers, connecting with them, and then building a relationship and rapport with them through a sequence of messages. So you do not want to sell them, out the gate. The first message, hey, I'm ABC language school. Do you need language training? Please get in touch. That's not the way to build the relationship. It's about providing value, asking questions that pique their interest before leading on to the sale. And I guess the goal of this LinkedIn lead generation is to get a meeting, whether that be a telephone call, a face-to-face meeting, or sending them more information about your school.
Yeah, and particularly right now, I think there's a really big opportunity. Like, businesses are still going on ahead. They're still existing. They're still functioning. But you're right. There's going to be an aspect of the online aspect that you're going to have to solve for these companies. I mean, we do it with a lot of our customers are selling really successfully their online language tuition. And it works super well because a lot of employees prefer it. Even before COVID, people were preferring to do particularly some of their language training online. So this is not a new thing for them, but maybe their existing provider isn't doing that. And that gives you an opportunity to maybe come in, because they may start relooking at some of their contracts. And likewise, if you have business customers, I mean, this is also an important time for you to really create a really strong relationship with those customers, because we don't want somebody else taking those customers off your hands either.
Absolutely. And it's also a great opportunity for those B2C schools to perhaps explore different services, open up a different revenue stream. If you're not getting international, if you rely on international students, you're not getting any of them at the moment. So why not reach out to companies and businesses in your local area again to provide those language services? International companies always need language courses for their employees.
And they also always, if you're neck and neck with somebody else in terms of if you offer a professional virtual classroom or a professional service, and another customer does too, if you're in their area, they're almost certainly going to choose you every time.
Oh, 100%. Absolutely.
So you've always got an advantage somewhere. So always start where you've got that first, and then kind of broaden that out. It also seems that this is a really good opportunity. If you don't have authentic imagery, or if you don't have X, Y, and Z, you can almost provide these great deals for these companies in exchange for, hey, look, I'll help you if you can also help me with some imagery that's going to be really helpful for us. But likewise, we're going to deliver an exceptional service for you, and you're going to love it.
Exactly. Yeah. Wonderful. Yeah. And now is a great time to create content, for imagery, videos, value.
So one question we had was on GDPR and around those authentic images.
Absolutely.
So how do we do this if we're worried about, students, their faces, their privacy? How do we deal with that?
Of course. I mean, if you're in Europe, then you cannot use just photos of students without getting their consent or permission first. That's a given. So they need to sign a form.
Yeah, or they just need to be advised, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of the time, the main thing is that they have provided their consent that you use these images.
I mean, it's never been an issue with the schools that I've worked with in Europe.
No, and even in B2B, like if you've delivered a great experience, somebody's probably going to be like happy, like, hey, look, I'm happy to help you, and I'd love to see you be able to help others.
Yeah. Again, you don't need to hire a professional photographer. You just need a smartphone. Again, if you're creating testimonials of students or customers, you don't need a professional camera. A good smartphone is sufficient, and it looks more authentic. You don't want those highly polished, photoshopped images and videos that just are too corporate. Again, it looks like an ad.
Yeah, because what's it telling you? It's telling you like, okay, this person's made themselves up. They've gone through all the trouble of getting this professional photographer. Like they've already done the work to make sure that this person's going to say whatever they're going to say. Whereas if it's on a smartphone, you're basically signaling to the listener, hey, this feels like it could have happened. I believe that this could have happened. This feels real. So that's actually almost works in your advantage. Do we have any other questions? Otherwise, I think a couple of things would be really interesting to go over quickly.
I think John asked a question about still images being challenging for online courses. Yes, definitely. Again, screenshots of online classes, for example, just like this, I could absolutely take a screenshot of Alex and myself and use that as a photo, or photos of your teachers on their laptops, or photos of students also taking online classes.
Yeah. Actually, one thing that we did, John, and I mean, we do it for LearnCube, and I think you could do it for your own. Like, people love what LearnCube looks like because it feels and looks like it feels like a classroom. And so if you've got your branding on the virtual classroom itself, and maybe you kind of talk to one of your students, hey, look, can you get on the other side of this? And I have one of my teachers. In the end, you're still looking for a screenshot, but maybe you can have, don't just leave the whiteboard bare, have maybe that beautiful image of maybe somebody hiking, and then have some notes about it, because then you're actually telling a story without having to kind of say, hey, look, they're in the woods. Like, have that picture, but maybe it's on the whiteboard, or it's a video, or it's some other thing that somebody's going to find like, hey, that sounds like actually online learning could be a really great thing here as well.
Hillary asked a very good question about dealing with companies that don't want to invest in language training right now. And I completely understand. The first thing that cuts, that companies cut is extracurricular things like training and courses, etc. One thing you can do is, you're offering online courses. You can offer that at I don't want to say discounted or lower price, but at a better price right now. Again, these employees still have problems with language skills, and they won't go away just because companies don't want to spend money right now. The problem still exists. And as you probably know, with B2B, you're not going to sell these companies, within 24 hours. They're not going to just buy from you and say, hey, yeah, let's sign a contract for 10,000 euros worth of courses. So now is a good time to establish those relationships, even if they're not looking for language courses right now. Get them on your list. Make sure you nurture those leads, because in 6 months' time, in a year time, they will have funds again for language courses. And if you stay top of mind, again, it's the same thing, staying top of mind, being in front of them all the time, and making sure that they know that you're around, then then you can get that meeting or get that sale.
Yeah, and you can also, you may need to look at other industries as well. So if you've got one industry that's really been hard hit by COVID, there's a good chance that you can't solve their financial problems through English language training. However, there's going to be a bunch of companies that are going really well. And how can you talk to those companies? Because maybe those companies weren't even thinking about language training, but now they're like, hey, I actually would love to be showing extra value for my employees who are stuck at home. And I'm kind of like trying to boost morale and show that we care, and we're going to deliver, like, you can't send packages, but maybe you can offer training as a way of like going, hey, look, I really want to look after you and make sure that even during this time where you're locked away at home, you've got something really productive and exciting to do. So there's probably going to be some new stones that you need to turn over as well.
Definitely. And again, but now is a great time to upskill employees. It really is. They're at home, they're working, but why not train them and improve their skills as well?
That's right. Do you want to just tell us what is some of the biggest mistakes that you've seen, other than you've kind of mentioned that using stock photos and just staying with the generic? But Herbert, do you want to just tell us some of the mistakes you've really seen, and how can we learn from those and maybe do the opposite of that you haven't talked about so far?
I mean, the biggest, I don't know if it's a mistake, so to say, but thinking that a particular type of online strategy or online marketing will not work for your school. Most schools have tried basically everything, right? They have invested some money into Facebook ads, for example. I know the story because it comes up all the time. A year ago, 2 years ago, they spent $100, $200, $500 on Facebook ads. They tried it out. It didn't, they didn't get zero leads, zero sales. And then they decided, hey, this is a waste of money. Facebook ads is not a good strategy for our school. And the same goes for, email marketing or Google ads or whatever. So now's the time also to upskill your skills in terms of online marketing, because online marketing is the future. Online digital marketing won't go away. People are spending more and more and more of their time online, on their phones, on their computers, in apps. And so you really need to find out how to effectively position your school where those eyeballs are. And it's online, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it does give you resilience as well. So when you're working and as you build up the skills yourself, or even if you were to, even have Herbert do that for you, you're building the resilience of your company, because then you have different other predictable ways of generating revenue. You kind of hinted to it before, Herbert. Like, we've only been in this lockdown for a couple of months so far. But if you're trying to sell to a new B2B, I mean, I've been to various conferences, and it's like there are only a couple of windows during the year where these companies are kind of coming up for air, and they're looking for an alternative. So don't beat yourself up if you've kind of actually got them a great offering and they say, hey, I'm actually really interested, but not quite now. That's part of the B2B sale.
That is part of the game, yeah.
But what you might be able to find are, as I say, a new company that hadn't had language training before, because maybe they were too remote. Maybe they were like, oh, well, I can't bring somebody to my company, so I'm not going to do that. Or I'm a technology company, I don't have the money. And now we've got a really differing, like the economy is sort of flipping on its head. There might be new companies that offer that are really open to making a contract faster, because they don't have one that they're switching from. And then you might be able to find an opportunity that way as well.
Yeah.
Great.
One other mistake is language schools that really rely on one or maybe two channels, of getting customers, especially, for example, with English language schools. Most of them are 70, 80, 90% agent driven, and that's it. They don't do any online marketing themselves, or they rely on, or some companies rely on word of mouth and referrals. That's fantastic for starting a business, but it's definitely not a sustainable way of scaling your business. You have no control, one, over how many people talk to other people, and again, on the agent side of things, you have no control over them deciding to send one of their students to your school. So really, now is the time to learn about online marketing, to see what your options are, and to choose the platform or the strategy that will get you the quickest path to revenue.
Okay. Thank you very much, all. And we look forward to seeing you all succeed. And until we see each other again, thank you very much.